Yogi Berra was right. The future ain't what it used to be. I've been a professional futurist for nearly 25 years, and I can tell you that planning horizons have gotten shorter and shorter, so much so that I'm now looking backwards at history to make sense of where we're headed. It used to be that my forecasts were typically 10 years out or longer. We could do this because the innovations and radical social movements that were disruptive, revolutionary, were really contained to markets and categories. We were otherwise operating in an era where the basics were pretty stable. Trade, supply chains, and international alliances were more or less the same. Yet, as a futurist, I knew what was coming. For years, my speeches issued a warning that made me sound like a pilot talking to passengers.
Okay, folks, there's turbulence ahead. For your own safety, please keep your seatbelts fastened.
Then, by 2015, the global systems that we had relied on for the last 70 years were visibly cracking. Soon, I was telling clients that a 5-year horizon felt wobbly, and before long, even 2 years out felt sketchy. When the pandemic hit in 2020, the turbulence I've been warning about had arrived. According to recurring cycles in history, we are right on time for a shift in global order that comes every 70 to 100 years. And what these cycles tell us is that the transitional period from one era to another is decades long, and that its outcomes are truly unpredictable. Unfortunately, the transition from one era to the next is never smooth. Instead, conflict, chaos, and fear are the very agents of such change. We can already feel how these energies have infiltrated everything we once took for granted. But the opposite energies are also and always present as well. Because true to every cycle of reinvention, the process of death and rebirth is also a time of tremendous creativity. We know that progress comes when we dig into the best of ourselves to solve problems, when we lead with optimism and build trust and collaboration as we go. This is the real story of our past, and it will be of our future too. Times of upheaval remind us about the very nature of change, that life itself is in a continuous state of reinvention, that everything is on its way to becoming something else. The primary act of wisdom is to stop resisting or trying to control change and instead expand and learn to dance with change as it emerges. This is why Reinvention is the foundational fluency of our Lead Like a Futurist program. When we become intimate with the process of reinvention in our own lives, learning to follow what's emerging and trust it, we grow calmer. We're able to keep perspective and prioritize what really matters, even in the face of chaos and uncertainty. It's the training we need to then steward that process in our organizations as well. I've been on a mission to spread change literacy, the ability to change, read change, and to understand its direction since the very beginning. We can do this. It really isn't that hard, and I believe it should be embedded in training and education everywhere. However, now, as our environment becomes more unstable, stability needs to be an inside job. And this takes more than just the skills of change literacy. It requires a deeply embedded fluency in change, one that becomes a way of being that's not just second nature, but first nature. I've been studying the future of leadership and guiding leadership strategies for clients for more than 8 years. It turns out that the training we need most is native to the principles and practices of Foresight. So all of this learning and experience is poured into our Lead Like a Futurist program, where we focus on building fluency in 3 domains of leadership: leading self, leading strategy, and leading culture. It creates a depth of resilience, creativity, and wisdom for times that need that most. I believe there isn't anything more critical right now. We all do better when we step up. Often, we just need to know how to do it. Learning to lead like a futurist is that training. The future needs each of us to do our part. Thank you. Thank you for doing yours.